Welcome back to the Elk-Shaped Gear channel, where we help you make more informed decisions on your gear purchases. Today, I want to go over all of the shelter options from Peax equipment. We're going to start off with the largest shelter, work our way down to the smallest. I'm going to give you my opinion on best use scenarios for each shelter and let you decide what's going to work best for you. Let's go. First up, this is the Solitude 6P. It is classified as a 6-person shelter, and yes, you could fit 6 grown men in here. You're going to be stacked up like sardines, shoulder to shoulder, but you will fit. The way I would use this is for probably 4 guys and a stove, or 4 guys and equipment. If you put 6 guys in there, you've got basically zero room for your gear. With 4 people, you have plenty of room for gear or a stove. Right now, we have the Dyneema shelter set up. The advantages of the Dyneema is it's a much stronger material. It's a bit lighter than the Sil nylon, and it doesn't have the stretch that the Sil nylon does. It is a lot more expensive, but it may be worth it for you. It's kind of going to be up to you whether you want to spend the extra money to save the weight and have the stronger material, or if you want to save a little bit of money, pack a little bit of extra weight, you can go with the Sil nylon. This one here we have set up with the full nest inside. I just got off a week-long Salmon River float trip with my family, and I have 2 girls, so me, my wife, and my 2 girls slept very comfortably in this with all of our gear inside with plenty of extra room. The full nest is not compatible with the stove, but it keeps all the bugs and stuff out. If you need the stove, you're gonna just want to grab the floor for the shelter. It will have a place for you to put the stove in there, and 4 guys will be able to fit comfortably that way. Some of the features on the 6P, on one side we have the curved entry. It's nice because you can get the door all the way out of the way. It gives you plenty of room to get in and out of the shelter and kind of move around, get your gear in and out. On the opposite side is I'll come and show you here real quick. You've got just a straight zipper. This would be where your stove would sit. The chimney is going to go through that chimney section up there, and this allows you to access your stove, stoke it, kind of position some wood in there so it'll dry before you throw it in your stove. And you can open up both sides if you need the extra room to get in and out as you're setting things up. One of the features on the newer Peax is they tag these corners of your shelter with the green bar tabs, so that you know that that guy out position is the corner, which is very handy for setting up. Makes it a lot easier. You do also have the 3-point guy out systems. That's unique to Peax. You have it on both ends of the shelter, so if you look at the shelter from the different angles, you'll notice that this angle is much narrower. So it's narrower this way and longer. If you were to get a traditional teepee type shelter, that's just a octagon kind of shape. It's a bigger shelter, but it's less usable space because you have so much space on the side, where this one is all the space inside is usable if you're gonna stack up a bunch of people in there. It works really well. The only thing I wish Peax would do differently, or in addition to, is add a few more stakes. So if you are getting this shelter, you may want to pick up extra stakes, because as the shelter comes, these guy out points don't have you don't have enough stakes to use them. And there are 4 of them, 1 on each corner, as well as a spot here in the middle that they do not send a stake for. If I were to add 6 more stakes to this, would add a little bit of weight, but it would make it to where I would have a stake for each guy out point. The other key features for this tent are you can add a trekking pole to either end, and it kind of pushes that up and out, giving you more headspace inside, more usable space. And then kind of the way I would use it is you'd put your gear along the very edge on the other side of that trekking pole, and then you would sleep kind of more towards the center. If you're familiar with the Peax systems, they have what they call their cross trek stabilization, which up here in the top, if you want to look, there are cross members. And right now I have a Game Sticks pole up there. I use that in the Salmon River because you can plug in a battery pack to this USB port. It lights it up, lights the whole shelter up, so you don't have to use a headlamp to get ready for bed. It worked really well, but it is designed for 2 trekking poles up there, which that pushes the top of the tent out, again giving you more usable headroom. It does provide a little bit more structure to the teepee, and it also gives you a place to hang gear. If you've got the stove in there, I've done this in the past where I get a good fire going in the stove, put all my wet gear, hang it up on those cross-trek stabilization trekking poles, and by the morning they are nice and dried out. All right, moving on. The next size down is their 4P. This is probably the shelter I have the most experience with. We've got both the Sil Nylon and the Dyneema set up today, and kind of in 2 different configurations. It is considered a 4-man teepee, and yes, you could fit 4 guys in here. Again, you're going to be stacked up like sardines, and you will have 0 room for equipment. So I prefer this one for 2 people and a stove. Works great. I've used it that way several times. They do make a full nest, so if you are going to use this for a family camp, which I have done in the past, I use the full nest when I'm not using a wood stove, because again the full nest is not compatible with a wood stove. And I've slept my whole entire family in here, as well as our dog. So we had the 4 of us plus our dog in there, and we did have enough room for gear, but you're very limited on gear when you have that many people in there. It does, with the full nest, it does have a little bit of a vestibule, as you can see here, that allows you to put some gear inside the vestibule but outside the nest if you want to. These also have the cross-trek stabilization. I do not have it in this one, and I just kind of wanted to show you kind of the difference. So this one does not have the cross-trek stabilization, and this Dyneema one does. And if you kind of look at the difference between, it's kind of windy right now, you got a lot of wind blowing on it. Look at the difference between here and that tent. You can see how the wind is pushing in on that top quite a bit more than this one. You also kind of see the difference between Dyneema and the Sil Nylon. You can see I pretty much set these up very similar when I set them up. They've been up here for a couple of hours now, and you can already see that the Sil Nylon needs to be tightened up already. Once you do tighten it up a couple times, it usually, once it stretches out, it usually stays stretched out. However, the Dyneema is much more stable in the fact that it's not stretching out. So once you set it up, you pretty much are good to go. You don't have to go back and re-tighten down your guy lines. You could still do that a little bit with this one, but it's not near as bad as the Sil Nylon. This one, I wanted to show you the difference here between the full nest and just the ground tarp. This one has the ground tarp. It's got the zipper here, which is where you would put your stove if you were going to use your stove. The stove kind of sits right up next to that center pole. The chimney goes out your chimney port here. And with the dual doors You can have everything set up here with your stove. Have some firewood set up in there, kind of drying before you throw it in the stove. If you dry it out a little bit before that, before putting it in the stove, it burns a lot cleaner. And then you can enter and exit out of the other side of the shelter, which makes it a lot more convenient. You're not having to kind of work around the stove to get in and out of your shelter. I really like that feature. You have the 3-point guy out system on either side, which one stake provides 3 points of contact with your tent, and that just kind of gives you a little bit more usable space inside by pulling the sides up and out. This one has the cross-track stabilization inside it. Works exactly the same as the 6P. Let me show you that really quick. Those are the two shelters that Peax have that are compatible with a wood stove, so they're hot tents. If you're going to be hunting when it's cold, especially in the rifle seasons, or just anything into October where those mornings are super chilly and or it can be wet, highly recommend a stove. The Solitude 4 is, in my opinion, ideal for 2 people plus a stove and all your gear. You can fit it in there as long as you're a little bit organized and everything's inside. You're good to go. You can stay warm, you can get dry, and that's going to help you stay out in the field longer, which means more interactions with game, which means more filled tags. The next step down is going to be the P1. This is a single person shelter. You can set it up with trekking poles. However, they do offer these carbon fiber poles, which I think are a little bit better than the trekking poles, just so the fact that you can leave your shelter set up while you're out hunting for the day and you don't have to take your poles out and have everything fall down. This is going to be your lightweight shelter for a single person. It is not compatible with a stove, so this is going to be your early season option. They do make a full nest option for this, so you can have a bug net in there, and I would definitely recommend that for those early season hunts when the bugs can be a problem. There's nothing worse than trying to go to bed and having bugs get on you and it kind of interrupts your sleep. So I would do the nest for early season. If you're going to go a little bit later and you're not worried about the bugs aren't a problem. You can save a lot of weight by just using the ground tarp that you can get with it and going from there. A couple of other features on this one is it does have a little structure on both ends of the shelter, so it kind of gives you a little bit more leg room versus having this go straight to the ground here. And then it does have, like I said, on the newer shelters, they're putting these green bar tabs on the corners of the shelter, which that just makes it way easier to figure out which guy line goes out to the corners and you're not confused. It makes it a lot easier to set up, especially if you're working in the dark or you're just in a hurry trying to get it set up. Makes that a lot more convenient. It does have guy out points on 4 points of contact, one on either end of the where the poles go into your shelter, and then one at either foot. Very stable structure when you get it all staked down and tight. It also has some extra ventilation up top, which all of the Peax shelters have this very similar. I'll show you how that kind of works here. So it's just a little bit of a support bar here, and it velcros in. So if you want less ventilation, you can velcro it down. You'll have less ventilation. If you want more, you just unvelcro it, velcro this little guy in there, and now you have a nice ventilation spot to allow the moisture to get out, which will cut down on condensation on the inside of your shelter, especially when you're dealing with a single wall shelter That's like the number one thing that everybody's kind of worried about with the single wall shelter is the accumulation of moisture on the inside, and those vents are going to help you out significantly. The most lightweight shelter that Peax offers is their tarp, and this tarp can be set up in a multitude of different configurations. I have just a simple A-frame setup right now. This would be ideal for throwing in your pack for any time you want to go either super lightweight or just have an option of a quick shelter that you could throw up, whether that's sun protection or protection from the elements while you're waiting out those long hours in the middle of the day, waiting for the golden hours in the evening and mornings. You can throw this up in a multitude of different configurations. Currently, we just have a simple A-frame. You can put it up as a lean-to, and basically it's kind of up to your imagination to put it however you feel best suits you for that situation. But this is an awesome, super lightweight shelter. You can hook up your trekking poles on the inside to give it a little structure, or you could just tie it up however you want to do it. Right now we have the trekking poles inside. They do have something I think that's probably pretty unique to the Peax shelter versus other basic tarps is the fact that they do have a nice spot that's reinforced for your trekking poles, and it does have a awesome capture feature that will capture the top of your trekking pole and hold it in place versus just trying to use friction. I think that's worth the weight added for that. Makes it a lot more stable for just a simple tarp. I've used a homemade tarp in the past that I really do like. This is a lot lighter and I think it's a lot stronger. This one's also Dyneema. They do make it in a sil nylon option, which would save you some money, but it's going to be a little bit more weight. That is all of the shelter options from Peax Equipment. I hope this video will help you make a more informed decision on which shelter is going to be right for your application. Until next time, I hope you have an awesome adventure.